Welcome to Demand Does the 6 Questions, where the same 6 questions can tell a unique story. I am your host, Demand, father of 2, husband of 1, and leader of this here Demodcast. My next guest is 51/100ths of the host of the Trash Talking Podcast, along with Lindsay Kay from episode 44. She's a writer, photographer, and cat person, so we'll get along swimmingly. Please welcome the dazzling, darling, dragging, diabolical deplorables, Danielle Sauers!
Hello.
How are you now?
Me. Not so bad. How about you? I messed it up. Good, and you?
Not so bad.
I wasn't expecting that, so it caught me off guard.
Yes! For the win. Thank you for taking time out to talk to a perfect stranger. I appreciate you coming on.
I appreciate you inviting me because I'm a nobody.
But you are awesome. So that's
thank you.
All you have to do is be interesting to be on this show, and that you definitely are. So
I'll let your listeners decide.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Let's get this out of the way. Tell the listeners where you would like to be found on the interwebs.
Sure. I am at DHSauno, DHSAUNO, on Twitter and TikTok, on Instagram. Yes, that's also my Instagram handle. You can follow my podcast that I do with Lindsay on trashtalkingpod.com and at trashtalkingpod on Twitter.
I was listening to Trash Talking Podcast to kind of get a feel for maybe I can find some interesting questions. And I want to say it was like a 5-minute span. I forgot what episode it was. You had mentioned you take Hapkido.
I do.
You lift weights.
Yes.
And let me make sure I get this right. And you sleep with a knife and zip ties on your pillow.
Yes. They're not under the pillow. They're in a little like pocket next to the bed.
I was at work listening, and I was like, "Did she say zip ties and a knife?" And I rewound it.
Yep.
And I was like, it was like a 5-minute span of that. Those were the things that jumped out at me, and I'm like, I cannot wait to talk to this woman.
Yeah. No, so yeah, I am a Korean American adoptee, and Hapkido is a Korean martial art. So I do that just for self-discipline, fitness, and to, connect more to my culture. The weightlifting is just, to stay in shape. I hate cardio, so I much prefer to just lift weights. I am with Beyond Built Fitness on a training regimen with Coach RJ. And the zip ties and the knife are because the reality is I am a young-ish woman living alone on a first-floor apartment. And, God forbid something happens, I like to have a weapon near my bed. And one night I was thinking, because I think morbid thoughts before I go to bed, if someone was to attack me, I'm confident that I could at least stave them off a little bit. But it's like, what if I get them in a submission? Then what do? I have to get up to call the police. So the zip ties are so I can quick, just zip them behind the hands behind the back and the legs together.
You are absurd.
So I'm not absurd. Yeah, I'm not saying I could win in every fight, but I want to be prepared just in case.
What I was about to say was, you are absurdly pragmatic.
Well, thank you for seeing the logic there. Yeah,
I'm here for it. Like I followed I was like, oh well, I see how she could get to that. I can see how someone could get to that. Okay, all right then. And, oh man. So let me make sure there's anything else that I do want to share this. I don't even know if I'm going to keep this or not. You're a Cubs fan, right?
I am. Yes.
Well, a little bonding moment. Okay, so the Cubs won their last World Series on, I want to say November 2nd, 2016.
Yes.
And I know that because that's the day my son was born.
Aw, that's awesome.
It was pretty cool.
Aw.
I stopped following, sports so closely, but I was like, wait a minute, the Cubs are on? Really?
Yeah.
So it was really cool. It was really cool.
That is really cool. Yeah.
I wanted to share that with you.
Yeah, that game was nuts.
Yeah. Leave it, and it didn't occur. It didn't dawn on me till later. I'm like, wow, between Cleveland and Chicago, that's like almost 200 years of losing.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
someone was going to have to just suck
Exactly. Yeah.
it up. Sorry,
Luckily,
Cleveland.
it was Cleveland. Yeah. They had less of a drought, so they can always try again some other time.
That's true. That's true. And LeBron James is from there, and he brought him home a basketball
Yeah.
championship.
Yeah.
So, all right, Danielle. So you ready to answer the 6 questions?
I am.
Question number 1. When did you know you wanted to get into podcasting?
I actually never really gave it much of a thought until probably about 5 years ago when Lindsay and I actually started talking. At first, it was kind of just a joke because our conversations get kind of crazy. We're both very unfiltered women, and some of our texts sometimes, like, I would just laugh out loud at the things she would say to me. So we were like, everybody and their mother these days has a podcast. Maybe we should do it. And we just talked about it, and it was let's do this for a long time. And then we finally were like, hey, let's give it a try. Worst thing that happens is, if it doesn't work out or we decide we don't like to do it, at least we tried. The first incarnation of Trash Talking didn't last. We both had, Lindsay already talked about it a little bit on her episode. We both had concerns about how if our employers found it, it might be, it might affect our careers just because we are very unfiltered. But then now we're both a little bit more secure in where we are job wise and kind of don't care so much anymore. And it's separate. It has nothing to do with my job. I don't discuss my job. It's just two friends having fun. I'd say now I'm fully committed to it. So it was a very slow kind of journey to get it off the ground. But now that we have it, it's a ton of fun.
Right on. What's the what lessons have you learned? Like, what are some big lessons that you've learned, or small lessons even? What have you learned throughout the podcasting experience?
That it is a job. It's a very fun hobby, but it is a decent amount of work, especially if you're an independent podcaster. You have to have a little bit of startup money, even just because you want to have decent recording equipment, editing software. You have to know how to edit audio. I didn't know how to edit video prior to, but I've learned how. It's not hard, but it was something I didn't know prior to doing the podcast. So just the fact, people think, I'll just have a podcast. But if you want to actually have a quality product without, already having a lot of money to put into it, it is a decent amount of work, and just taking into consideration we do have a small Patreon following. So it's like, we have to stay on track now, getting these episodes out because, if people are giving us money, it's only fair that we give them a quality podcast. We usually publish every other week. So just keeping the balance between having a fun hobby and actually, following through with it.
Question number 2. What do you wish you had known when you first started out?
In podcasting or just in life?
Let's start with podcasting and we'll go into life.
All right. I kind of just wish I had known, like I said, how much extra time it would take to actually, because editing does take a decent amount of time. Lindsay and I both make sure we listen through the episodes, cut out anything that, we don't want published, make sure the audio is seamless, that kind of thing. So I wish I had a little bit more knowledge about the technical aspect of editing, so I could better prepare for the amount of time I would have to take out of, each week to make sure that everything was good for publishing.
Have you streamlined your process at all, or has it gotten any easier over the time?
It's definitely gotten easier. We've kind of gone back and forth with who does what. So now our process is I'll do the first edit, cut through anything and we're both very much on the same page. So I trust anything that she wants to take out and vice versa. So we kind of just let each other do our own individual edits and then just, combine it all together. So The toughest part too is, when you have the bigger files for video and audio. Right now we're using Google Drive, but that only has so much limited free space. So, if we get more Patreon members, we might upgrade to a paid hosting, because it's like, you only have 1 megabyte of space left because we've got so many files saved up in there.
Right.
So, yeah.
Question number 3. What is your go-to order at your favorite hometown restaurant?
See, I love food so much, and I have so many favorite local restaurants that I gave this one quite a bit of thought. I was like, I love the local Korean spots, but that would just be too obvious. We just got a Korean fried chicken place, BBQ Chicken. It's a chain, but very good food. One of my first favorite restaurants in Rochester is called Nosh. The chef is actually part Korean. A lot of people poo-poo fusion food. I personally love it. I think it's a fun way to put a bunch of cultures together. And he has this appetizer called ahi nachos. And it is fried wonton chips with salmon and the furikake, the Japanese kind of seasoning with a spicy mayo. They are so, so good. They're phenomenal. So definitely, if you're ever in Rochester, New York, hit up Nosh.
Is that just a local place?
Yep, just a local place.
Grr! Curses! Curses!
You could definitely fry up some wonton chips, though, at home. Highly recommend that.
Question number 4. What are you curious about?
I have always, I know a lot of people probably say this, but I've always been interested in outer space. I'm going to sound like a total pothead right now, but just the vast unknowability of everything that's out there. There's the known universe. What's beyond that, And then to tie it into a more spiritual kind of thing, like, are there forces out there that we don't know about? Just looking up at, pictures that the Hubble telescope has taken with all. I see one photo of all these different galaxies in the sky, and all these galaxies may have planets within them. And it just absolutely blows my mind. So I want to know and I'm very bad at physics. I took an astronomy class in college and just made it through by the skin of my, what do they call the skin of your teeth? I wish it came naturally to me more, because I just think astrophysics and the galaxies and the universe are so interesting.
I did a episode. I'm trying to remember who it was. I'll have to make a note in the show notes that they were talking about white holes. There are black holes, and then there are white holes, and it was.
Do they
it was just
ask for the manager? No. You can cut that out if you want to.
Absolutely not. That's awesome. Wow. Oh my goodness. I'm gonna have to make up a reason for you to come back, because you're awesome.
Hey, maybe we could have you on Trash Talking.
I let me know.
Yeah,
Let me know so I
yeah,
can clear it out
definitely.
with the other 3 here, and I'm in.
Awesome.
Absolutely. That'd be so much fun. Question number 5. Is there anything I should have asked but didn't?
I tried to come up with a really clever answer for this, but I don't have one. We talked about, the second question was, or maybe it was the third, what I wish I knew about podcasting. And then I was going to talk about what I wish I knew kind of just in life in general. So I could answer that if you want.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes. One thing my dad always taught me growing up was that no matter what you do, there's always going to be someone who's smarter, faster, prettier, better, luckier. So you can only focus on doing the best that you can do and being satisfied that that's your best. And I know that's might sound cliche to people, but it always stuck with me because, a lot of people, especially growing up, I experienced it. It's like, why can't I be as smart as so-and-so? Or, she's so much prettier than me, or he's so much funnier than me. If you live your life that way, then you're never going to be good enough. And you can't be, I don't think that you can truly commit to others in any kind of relationship, whether friendship or otherwise, until you love yourself. And so I just wish I had known. It wasn't until probably my late 20s, early 30s, right, which is my age right now, that I really started to understand that focusing on myself was not selfish, as long as you're doing it to better yourself so that you can be better for others. You know, not in the egotistical way of like, oh, I don't care what anybody else thinks. Like, I'm just going to do whatever I want. But it's like, no, having that kind of meditative focus on yourself, saying, you know, what can I do? And to make sure you take time to care for yourself first. So I wish I had learned that earlier on in life. But I also think it's never too late for people to start doing that. I think it's really important.
Absolutely. Message. What was your Popeye moment where you've had all you could stand, you can't stands no more? That's probably a very old reference.
I actually was in an emotionally abusive relationship, romantic relationship. If you've never been in that kind of situation, it may be hard to understand. And if you've never been in that situation, I'm very happy that you haven't, because it was pretty rough. You know, people would tell me, "Yeah, you know, he's terrible. He's so bad to you. What are you doing?" And you know, when you're in love with someone, or you think you're in love with someone, it's just so different, you know. And I could get scientific, you know, there are chemical things that happen in the brain that make you, you know, more susceptible to, or it make it harder to get out of that kind of situation. But once I made it past it, I was like, yeah, you know, I really need to take this time now to really figure out what I want in life, not just in romance, and really make the promise to myself that I'm going to take care of myself and figure out, you know, what I want to do. And I also started going to therapy at that point, which has been incredibly helpful just overall. And, you know, just being open about talking about my mental health and my experience. So yeah, that was around when I was 25 was when that happened.
We're going to take a little detour. You mentioned earlier, I don't know if it's before we started recording, that we talked about you taking Hapkido.
Yes.
And I'm aware that's a Korean martial art. I don't. My question is, why did you choose that one versus? I know Taekwondo's Korean, correct?
Yes, Taekwondo is also
I was
Korean.
wondering why. I was wondering why you made that choice. And
Oh, sure.
what are
I
the
love
differences
talking about
between
martial arts.
and what are the differences between those two martial arts? Because I've heard of them, but I'm not aware of the intricacies of it.
Sure. Yeah. And most people, I think most people probably have never even heard of Hapkido. Taekwondo is definitely very famous Korean martial art. You know, look on YouTube, the Korean Tigers is the national Taekwondo team, not display team. What's the word? Anyway, they're very, very good. So if you look them up, it's very entertaining. But Taekwondo is 80% kicking, 20% everything else. So very, very focused on kicking. You'll probably hear the word dojo. That's Japanese. So in Korean, we call it a dojang. So the family that owns my dojang, they have 3 kids and they all compete. But their eldest daughter, she just competed in Pumse, which is the forms. She is nationally ranked. So yeah, it's definitely more of a competition sport where with very rigid, like even when they do sparring, there's very rigid rules, very specific ways they have to plant their feet. You know, if they raise their leg to kick, they have to fire off a kick. If you know, raise your leg and then put it down, that's a demerit. So it's much more regulated. Hapkido has no one specific school. My instructor's a 3rd degree black belt, and he trained under the Kuksul school. So Hapkido is a striking art. It's more of a self-defense art. We actually we have no specific rules for sparring, so, you know, we can pretty much just go ham on each other.
Nice.
Yeah. Since I train in a Taekwondo school, we do adapt a lot of our kicks are more Taekwondo style. You know, everything is still Korean, so it's still pretty similar, but we do more of, you know, joint locks are a big part of our curriculum. Yeah, that kind of thing. So it's more of an offensive artist. I don't want to say offensive, but we use our hands as much as our feet, whereas in Taekwondo, they're going to use more kicking and have more of like a demonstration team. That's what I was trying to think of earlier.
Okay, got you. Yeah, I never would have got that. Awesome.
Another thing I like about it too is it doesn't matter what size you are. So I like taking it as a shorter woman because it's all about. So Hapkido means, oh God, I'm gonna make my instructor very upset right now. Cut that part out. So it means basically joined force. So if people are familiar with Aikido, which is Japanese, it's a little bit more violent than Aikido, but it's all about taking away the person's center. So it's like, you know, I can do these techniques and you're not really muscling through them because once you have their momentum, you know, you can just hip throw them. So it feels very good for me being 5'3" to be able to take a 6'2" guy and just, you know, flip him over my shoulders. So I highly recommend it for women to take too. It's very adaptable to different body types.
Question number 6. If you could create a new holiday, what would it commemorate?
I know I know that there's already a National Cat Day and an International Cat Day. I love animals. I mean, I've never met a person that didn't love animals, but I wish there was like a national kind of shelter pet day. And maybe it already exists. I should have probably Googled it first, but it would be really cool if we could just have a day where, you know, we focus on, you know, I know for Mother's Day, people will donate a lot often to like breast cancer research. Just have a day where you could donate to, you know, your favorite local rescue or that kind of thing. Just raise awareness about the importance of spaying and neutering your pets, that kind of thing.
Right on.
I think that would be really cool.
Did you grow up with pets?
I did. Yeah, I've had my parents' backyard leads up to woods, and my dad is a huge nature guy, so he'd always take us out on walks. And I remember picking up like snake skins after they'd shed their skin and put it in our nature box. We had like a leftover bird's nest, some robin's eggs that had fallen. So obviously the birds died inside, but they're really pretty blue eggs. I've had rabbits my whole life. Never had a dog because my parents were smart enough to understand that my brothers and I would probably not take care of it. But we did have cats. Always had cats, and I have a cat right now. Yeah.
Right on. What kind of cat do you have?
She's a black cat. Not just a stray, but she was adopted, so no purebred or anything. And her name is Tully, and I named her after Tullamore Dew Irish whiskey. Because, like I said, I'm an adoptee, and my parents are Irish, German American.
Right on.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, Danielle, thank you so much. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Any parting words or anything?
I love your podcast. I loved listening to Lindsay's episode. I just think this is such a cool idea. So I'm really appreciative of you having me on.
And I appreciate you for listening and hanging out with me and Danielle. If you liked it, please sign on your podcast app, leave a like, you know what I mean. You need a 5-star rating and review. And it doesn't have to say anything. It just helps the algorithms. It helps more people see the show. So if you could do that, that would be awesome. And you can also follow me on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, @DemondDoes, all one word. And I am in the process of building the YouTube channel, which will also have the interviews on there and some other things too. So I'm going to have some things coming up that'll be YouTube exclusive. So I think that's about it. So until next time, see it, hear it, speak it, live. Hey, you're still here? Cool. All right, here's a little addendum that only the dedicated fan will find, or until people get a wind of this. Anyway, Danielle remembered after the show, after we stopped taping, that Hapkido means way of coordinated motion. So just to let you know. Bye.